I don't know the funny words.
Or any strange words?
Kachai. That's totally Chilean. I don't know, I keep hearing listo, genial, repeated conversations, you know. Empanada. Okay, so I was born in India. After a few months, I went to live with my parents on a ship. My father was a sailor in a merchant navy, so he carried like sugar, elephants, sugar cane, whatever. And I was there for 7 years, so I was raised in a ship, learning to swim in the Dead Sea, having the whole crew as my babysitter. So it was a good journey, but then I had to go to school. So then we decided to get on land and started school in Egypt. I was 7, and they didn't know which classes to put me in because I didn't have regular education. So what they did was they gave me exams until I failed, and then they put me there. But you know, there's all great things about that because you get to see so much of the world, but at the same time you have a little bit of social dysfunction because you're the only child on the ship. I was mostly only child except for 1 year. And then my brother came, but he was so little it didn't count. And then I had a really hard time in school wearing uniforms, sharing the desk with people. So it was like really a hard time for my parents to actually get me adjusted to social life. So then after Egypt, we moved to Nigeria. My father was in oil business and shipping, and Nigeria is West Africa. And I was there for a few years until I went to boarding school. I went to boarding school in India because in Nigeria the schooling isn't that great. And then I went to college in Switzerland, and then transferred to London for a little while, then went to Texas, then to DC, New York, and now in Chile. I read it in Inc. magazine. You know, I'm from New York, and it's a very big, strong tech community, and there's lots of incubators there themselves, and a lot of talk about tech, and they're really competing with Silicon Valley. It's called Silicon Alley in New York. So you're always looking out for incubators, but most incubators take equity. And what was so enticing about Startup Chile was that they don't take equity. I mean, that in itself is such a huge competitive edge that they have from other, incubators, that it was like, maybe. Because, you don't really have to leave New York to get an incubation. You can get it for 5%, 7% of your company. But I don't want to give that up, so it was great to have that. My project is an account reconciliation tool which helps corporations validate their balance sheet. So that really means that you reduce the occurrence of fraud, the riskiness of the balance sheet. After the recession, this has become a very high focus for at least Europe and the US. A lot of transparency and visibility into the balance sheet. Most of the corporate world focuses on the P&L, which is the profit and loss statement, because that's what you care about. Your bonuses come from that, your commissions come from that, your earnings are announced based on that, but everybody ignores the balance sheet, but that's the true health of the company. So this tool helps to make sure the balance sheet is accurate. So it automates a function that is currently done in Excel. Yes, go back to New York. Probably going to start looking for funding. We are in the process of closing a few really nice deals, which then gets us to a point where money would not be an issue to get. But being here in Chile, creating the connections, the relationships here. I know the market is a little bit slow to catch on to certain things, especially sensitive things like financial applications. Yes, I intend to get my product in Chile. I don't know how, but it's going to happen. So you use that base you just start like crawling, baby steps, and make sure that it happens. And so I intend to have a representative here, a sales representative, to help navigate through the Spanish-English barrier, and also understanding the Chilean market, the culture. How do you really make business here? I mean, the way I do, or I'm used to, even if I was a great salesperson, I come from a different mindset. I want do you want it? Do you not want it? Okay, let's move on. It's like, no, but we'll call you, I don't know, 5 weeks later, and then we have another meeting. It's very slow, and it's very casual and very relationship-based. So we got to make that be with someone who's local, they have friends, they grew up here, they went to college here. That's the plan. The experience has been, great. I mean, majority of it is self-induced, so I think, they could have done a lot more to connect the people who already came. So for example, we don't really have to meet with each other. Yes, they create meetups. Yes, they create, in some of the workspace that we have is really nice. But there is no mandatory presence. Sometimes you need to have somebody to force you, like the people who are maybe less extroverted, to come and meet. And then they'll open up their mind and have the actual conversation. This is just with Startup Chile people itself. Then you have the outside world, which is, they try, but it's really, really disconnected. Part of it is a language problem. But the point of trying to get the people here, the internationalism of it, the friends that you make and the connections that you're going to actually get from leaving. I mean, I have, I don't know how many more friends on Facebook and LinkedIn just because of this. You're tapping into other people's networks, which is really fantastic. And then personal, like a experience living in another country, understanding another culture. I mean, I've done it so much that this is just like, I got another great experience. And I feel a loyalty to Chile. I feel like they gave me money, there's a bond, they gave it with no expectations. And if you're like, I don't know, somewhat have a conscience, you feel connected. And you automatically go back to your country and rave about this country. So you're not only expanding it from a network of like startups and business, you're also expanding it from a point of view of tourism and likability. It's not like the first place in Latin America people think of coming. And just because of all these people that go back, my brother, my cousin, their friends, like, wow, how is it? And you expand that touristic revenue that Chile could get. But I feel connected to Chile now. It will always be that way just because of the experience, so. I think now we're trying to move towards we launched from Startup Chile, which was great. And of course we want their support and we want their blessing. But really we want to get out into the rest of the community. We want to get great speakers. We want that ecosystem that we were talking about where people say, hey, I got my job because I met somebody at Santiago Santerbe. Hey, I got an internship because of that. And to be able to showcase Chilean entrepreneurs doing really great things. And then hopefully it becomes one of those things where you don't even really need any publicity. It just comes to you because it becomes like a second nature thing that, hey, do you know this? Like, yes, I do. Yes, of course. Pisco sour is always what I drink, but it really is a strong drink. It's a tricky one. It looks like you're having lemonade, but you're really not.
Casi